Hi everyone. I am done with this school year and I wanted to show you guys my school journals. So this is me teaching Art 2 and Art 1 and I did a lot in a journal this year and I have lots of journals because I taught one in every class. And so I wanted to go through some of the journals and just show you what I did. I also wanted to tell you that I started another YouTube channel. Um, and it's all of my lessons from these journals. So if you want to um, learn how to do some of this stuff, it's all on YouTube. It's all free, and it is on my channel called Making Art with Miss O. And I'll link it down below. But it's tutorials, and it's pretty simple. It's basics, so it's not going to be super fancy stuff. But if you want to learn some artwork or how to do some artwork, you can totally, if you didn't take art class in high school and you kind of are kicking yourself, go follow my channel. Anyway, this is my I'm going to start with this one. This is my Art 1 art journal, and I'm so proud of this, you guys. I started the journal, oh gosh, it's 50 pages. I have another one here, and it's usually like that thin, that thick here. And this is like and look how thick I got it, you guys. That was my goal, was to just get a real chunky, thick journal. So basically put everything that I do in the journal. So that's what I did. So I haven't finished this cover yet, but I'm just going to go through my journal. Again, this is for high school, so I have a page where they can write down what the assignment is and what grade they got. I put in the elements of art and the principles of design. I put in composition strategies, and we talk about this. This is a really great activity I do. We talk about the artistic process. Like, it's not just making art, right? Making art is just not just making art. It's creating ideas and getting your materials and persisting and revising and sharing your work. So, yeah, and I taught this couple different times. So then I have it, first period, and then I have it third period, and then I have it sixth period. So, so that's why it's chunky, is because I teach the same thing a couple of different times. The next page, this is, I think it's a TED Talk, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Artists, and I had them take notes about the 7 habits. We talked about that. We did a word wall, which I didn't keep up with, but they were to write words and draw what they meant, and it's just part of our vocabulary, right? Then we did some lines. So this is Art 1, and so we took the inspiration. Was my inspiration from Mrs. Moen. Her name is the Art of Ed, the Art of Education. What is her name? Let me go find it. Here is hers. Art of Teaching, and she's a high school art fancy public high school art teacher. And she does some really great things. So if you're an art teacher, she just does some really cool things. She makes lists. Dee Dee, she makes lists. She makes visual lists. Wouldn't you like that? So we did some things from her. So we talked about lines, and I did it a whole bunch of times. We made line collages with magazines. So this was kind of like landscape inspired. This one was like a deconstructed landscape. We also do warm-ups, and what I do is I just give them a line. And so they have to copy the line, and then they have to make something out of the line. So this just kind of sparks their creativity. This is a really good exercise to do. Just take a circle, and then what could you make with a circle? Like, I don't know. There's so many things that you could make with a circle. Like, this could be part of a avocado. Right? That's an avocado upside down. Anyway, we did blind contour drawings, which are where you don't look at the paper. You look at whatever you're drawing. So I did some of those, kind of warming up, more warm-ups, line contour. This is like pretty formal stuff. Then we took our blind contour drawings and we did continuous line where you can't pick up your pen. And we did it put some watercolors. Just this isn't even mixed media paper. This is just like sketchbook paper. So it didn't sink in very well, but I did it a whole bunch of times because I teach it a whole bunch of periods. We talked about value scales. So when I say the basics, I mean the basics. Pencil hardnesses, gradients, how to do open letters, more warm-ups. We talked about forms. We did forms from the light source on the left, and then they were to do, their homework was to do light sources on the right, and we talked about reflected light and cast shadows. You can see I teach it a whole bunch of times. I'm literally teaching out of this book. Like, this is how I taught. Anyway, didn't do that lesson, so crossed it off, but we drew our materials. So we drew watercolors and glue sticks and pencil sharpeners. We made lists. I made sure we made lists. What they want more of in their life, what they want less of in their life, and then we drew those things. Here's mine. This is what I want more of in my life. Green tea, more cooking, more hiking. What I want less of in my life is negativity, screen time, and less pandemic, right? So we made lots of lists every period, just teaching them how to make a list. Not all of them know how to make a list. And then, like, how do I show procrastination? Well, maybe with some books or some, how do I show homework? Or, well, I guess that's procrastination. How do I show family time? Right? So, things that are a little less obvious. Then we went to color and we talked about colors, and I have like so many of these. So I did this I think 6 times because each one of my 3 classes was divided into an A cohort and a B cohort. And so there's a lot of pages of me because I was just teaching right out of this here. This was like what feelings, emotions go with the different colors. This opens up. I just taped it all in here. Right? It's all the same thing over and over again. More. So, even more. We did how to make complementary colors, temperature of colors, not how to make complementary colors, but what complementary colors are, analogous colors, colors next to each other, lots of mixing, how do you make browns. This is all in watercolor. Different watercolor experiments. Using salt, dry brush, wet on wet, lifting, wax resist, gradients, and then I did that 6 times. So over here I just did like a waterfall, like of all of my different experiments. Over and over and over again. So usually I do it this way, but I put this in here to remind myself next time I do the lesson I want to do it this way. But this is like I can't remember what it's called, I don't know. But that's another way to do watercolor experiments. We talked about the signs of life, which is a really interesting. Angelise Arrin, Arrin, and she talked about these 5 symbols and how they are in dominant cultures all over the world, and what those cultures, all the cultures basically agree on their meanings. This is some of my notes, just a little bit about the signs of life. We did some more warm-ups, and then what the universal signs of life mean. directly from this information. This is me now teaching it. So some of it's my notes. Like this was just my notes. The kids didn't do this or read this or anything like that. But they did do this. And then we did some abstract drawing to music based on these symbols. Okay, so if they heard something that was growth, music that sparked growth, then they would put a spiral, you know, and so that's kind of thing. So I did this for 4 different times, 6 times, so lots of them, abstract, non-representational pretty much. And then I took one, and this one here, I told them that they had to take one and make a composition. So I took this one here and I made a rough draft. This is all just in colored pencil. And then we made it in watercolor. Okay, and talked about that process. This was me explaining focal point. I did that a few times. Focal point, how to move the focal point, how to point, you know, draw people's attention. We also made a list of different images and their meanings because we did some, this is back here, so I'll have to, this is out of order. We talked about this is also out of order, surrealism and their ways of working, about transformation, juxtaposition, dislocation, and proportion. More warm-ups. You can take this off and throw that away. You can see I took the notes a few times. Just a few times. If you ever want to be a teacher, just know that you'll do the same thing over and over and over again. So you have to like what you're doing. And this, again, out of order, but we talked about hard edge painting, which the students actually have a really hard time with if they've never painted before, but getting that nice, crisp, clean line. About color mixing, they basically, all they had was blue, white, and black, and so they had to mix all these colors, and from there, we actually made a painting, a monochromatic landscape. I finished 2. These were on like mat board, so that's kind of a classic assignment. We brainstormed a lot about why take an art class. Why is it valuable to take an art class? Why does the state and the school board and adults in general think it's valuable for high schoolers to take an art class before they graduate? And the students brainstormed all of these ideas in all my different classes. So that's pretty cool. And then they made an artwork based on this, but I don't have any of those. We also did isometric perspective, and we made it into a space station. It was pretty fun. And look, I used like Dee Dee's little planet ideas. I was showing them some different ways to do outer space. These were our practices, so we practiced ahead of time with isometric perspective. More practices. These were our surrealist collages. I like this one a lot. So I have videos on that. There's another surrealist collage. And that's, I think, the end of the book. So that's Art 1, and that's probably only about 30% of what I normally do in Art 1, but we were remote, and we were, for most of half the semester, students were completely on Zoom, and the other half of the semester, students were half in like sometimes, how do I explain it? Some students were in person and some students were remote. Basically, they only had 2 days a week of live class wherever they were experiencing the class. So it's only really a third of, or maybe, I don't know, of the work that I would normally do in a semester, but it is what it is. And then second semester, we did some paintings. So Art 2 is just basically like drawing and painting. Art 1 is like introduction to art, right? So you do like broad things. Art 2 is more drawing and painting, and so we had a word wall that this particular journal I didn't keep up with. We also listened to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Artists, which are all these things. I highly recommend that. Maybe I will put that in the description below. We talked about shape, and we did some different shape things, and I wonder where my example of that is. I don't think I brought that home from work. Let me go look in my teacher bag. Hold on. Okay, I did bring it home. So I did, they did some watercolor shape, kind of abstract compositions. So I end up doing a couple examples. Usually do one before and at least one while the students are working. So that was just like the beginning of the semester, trying to get them involved. A lot of these students have never taken art before. We worked with pen and ink, and we did some different fruits and vegetables. I actually quite like this one here. We did a rough draft, and then they did their own pen. I didn't actually end up doing the assignment. These are all rough drafts. For the pen and ink, we talked about colored pencil and layering them. So light pressure, no heavy pressure. Blending, saturation. Then we went to landscapes, and I saw this somewhere else. I don't know what teacher did this, but isn't that cool? That's the background, that's the middle ground, that's the foreground, and how they kind of overlap and combine. We talked about landscapes. So, of course, I did this like how many times? I don't know why this, right? It's just all these times teaching it. A lot of work there. We did some landscapes. This is just black ink, like speedball ink, and we diluted it, and we did the background and the foreground. So, oops, there's another one there. There's another one there. There's 2 more there. I'm pretty sure I have a video on this. I really like the way the bottom part looks on that one. Then we actually started in acrylic paint, teaching them different techniques with a brush. So what brush and how they did it. That's touch and drag. So this would be like one day's work, one class day's work, and then this would be another day's work. So this would be a whole week. And then I did it the next period, and then I did it the next period, and then I did it the next period, and the next, just 5. I guess, apparently. And then we talked about different grasses and kind of how we mix things, and did cloud work, and again, and again. At some point I got smart and I videoed the lesson, and I just showed the video part, because I started to get really tired of doing the same thing over and over again. So then we just did like a scene, like with some of these combined, and we learned about mountains and hills and how the trees maybe are the same height, but when they get closer, they're bigger. So we did that a couple of times. This was actually an assignment that I was working on doing a sample for. I never did, but it's a collage, right, of different landscapes. And I love how I like matched that up right there. That was like a success for me. And then at the end of the school year, this is out of order. We just did something really simple, and we did a Moodle. There's a woman, Lou Tube 01, and she does moodling. I don't know what's the difference between moodling and Zentangling, but I gave them a whole bunch of pattern examples, and we just did watercolor, and there's the beginning of it. There's the beginning. There's the middle. There's the end. So I like to end the semester. Those are some notes that are not. I like to end the semester with something simple and easy. We did do visual journaling, which is based off of, not Michael Scott. He's in the office. What is his name? Eric Scott. And he has some great things. So we did some different practices. These are not done. visual journals. I've done a video on my visual journals. Maybe I will link that. This is more done, but not done. And there's a little pocket we made. So that was one of my journals. When we did the landscapes, I painted this painting with the students. It's not done, but it does have some nice details here. It's hard with the shine. There you go. And then I also painted this one here. And there's a lot of detail in the rock here. Let's see if I can, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it up to the cell phone. So, yeah, so that was second semester. And first semester, I just have all these journals, and I wasn't smart yet. I hadn't done this yet, so I did them all in a different journal. Silly me. I should have done it all in one journal and then gone to the next journal when I was done, but I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just thinking, oh, fifth period needs a journal and whatever. This one's my favorite cover. Isn't that cool? So that's just watercolor. I love these little journals, and I did a lot of visual journaling in here too, and I think I'll continue to work in these. So yeah, visual journaling is definitely a new favorite of mine. That one's not done, but I really like it. Can you tell I was a little stressed out? I also really like this one. So the kids really liked visual journaling because they could put their emotions and feelings in it. So I know this video is long. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So this semester was first semester, and we did the same thing. So I have all of these again. We did that live, so I didn't have it. All of my color mixing, all of my trees. We talked about the Highwaymen, and they're really cool artists from Florida, and they have beautiful paintings. So I recreated that in there with colored pencils. So we just did a different scene, more colored pencils, colored pencil work, values with pen. These were all of the things. This was my word wall this semester. So I just took them from, we made a Padlet. So I just took them from there and just glued them in, and it works the same way. So if you're a teacher, you know what a word wall is. But every single one of these, this is the coolest. I love this sticker. So this is just a sticker that I had painted underneath. I don't even know where I got it, but it's all the same things, right? But you don't want to see. Oh, look at one of my students gave me that, so I put it in there. I don't usually put them in my journal. I usually put them in like a book, but I think I'm going to put them in my journal from now on. So here's my visual journal section. None of them are finished. I have a lot of work to do this summer. I'm related to Lincoln, so that's why I put him in there. My grandmother it's through my grandmother's side. So yeah, I have all these little books. They're just the best. I don't know, they're mixed media paper. If I can find a link I don't remember where I got them, but I'll find it. I just am not in teacher mode right now because I'm home for the summer. So I will have to find that link for you guys. So all of these are still being worked on. I use the same words in all of them, so I think that one doesn't have any visual journaling. This is an island that I'm working on. I love to go to this island that I live nearby. So it's really nice because it does mark a period of time in my life where it says literally, one of them said, teaching, online, silent, effective, connection, team, better. Yeah. So struggle, time, parallel, peace, travel, apart. Yeah. So thanks for watching this video. My goodness, I don't know if anybody's interested or anybody will find it fascinating, but that's kind of, I've just been doing a few videos of like what teaching during a pandemic is like, and it's apparently a lot of journals. And actually it was a lot of fun. I have to say my students made it fun. They made it worthwhile and enjoyable, but I am so thankful for the summer. Yeah, so thanks for watching this really long video, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Okay? And I would love a subscription and a like if you wouldn't mind. Thanks, guys. Bye.